I think that this is a very questionable time in US history that I never thought I'd see in my own lifetime. Now is the time to be diligent about local representatives, because the local representatives are the ones who put pressure on the congressmen and the senators. And without those local representatives, these issues will be turned over to the state. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean every state will be protected, even if they are blue. Just because New York and California are allegedly going to lean that way doesn't mean that that is protected. If it's not a federal law, it's just not protected. And that also means that this will create a situation of poor women just not having access to healthcare. Mm-hmm. This won't stop abortions. It will only stop safe ones and will force a lot of people who are not ready to be parents to be parents. This is an issue for men as well. There'll be men held responsible for children that they're not ready for, that are unplanned. I don't know how this benefits society. If people cared about children so much, there wouldn't be a single one in foster care. But that's obviously not the motivation behind it. So the entire thing is disappointing. And I think the worst part about it is all of this is being done under the guise of I love Jesus, which makes it all the more revolting.
Talk about it. It's complete bullshit.
It is absolute and complete bullshit. And that's why I don't trust Christians.
Now, here's where we're at in the Senate right now. The House passed a bill called the Women's Healthcare Protection Act back in February. It went to the Senate and it failed by one fucking vote. So, of course, the 50 Republicans voted against it. And then one fucking vote, fucking Joe Manchin, the gift who keeps on giving. Mm-hmm. One Democrat voted against it. That bill would have codified Roe v. Wade into law, and it also had a bunch of other provisions for women's health.
Right.
Now, Joe Manchin is a Democrat, but he's in West Virginia. Trump won West Virginia, and Joe Manchin thinks, he's been the one holding back a lot of shit. Him and Kristen Sinema, but Kristen Sinema actually voted for this. Kristen Sinema is a senator from Arizona.
Right.
Those two have held back the entire Biden administration, setting Kristen Sinema aside because she actually supported this. Joe Manchin believes, he's somehow going to straddle the line and win re-election in MAGA country, even though he's a Democrat. It's actually not going to fucking happen.
Well, I don't know. I disagree with you. I think it could. I think Trump still has a lot of power in the political circles, the twice impeached ex-president. Most of the candidates, if not all of them that he endorsed so far, have been either picked for candidacy or reelected. Yeah, so his brand power has lasted so far.
A Democrat in West Virginia, though. Trump isn't going to endorse a Democrat in West Virginia. He's going to endorse a Republican.
I think he would endorse anybody who bats for him.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, that's fair enough. But yeah, so
I think he would spin it. He would just say, he would spin it. He'd say, okay, here's one Republican with a fucking brain. I mean, pardon me. He would say, this is one Democrat with a fucking brain.
Yeah, if the guy embraces it and shit. Now, here's the thing.
Right.
There is a sliver of hope because Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, both Republicans in the Senate, both said that they would actually, this is back in February when the Women's Health Protection Act failed, they said they would support just a carve out, just an amendment that codifies Roe v. Wade into law. They did not support the rest of the Women's Health Protection Act.
Yeah, but you can't trust them.
Exactly. Because now, when Susan Collins was asked about what she said back in February, she is already backpedaling and saying, well, there needs to be, I was presented with something that was, she said, send me just a standalone bill for Roe v. Wade. Mm-hmm. I was sent the standalone bill, but it didn't include exceptions for Catholic hospitals that might have to do anything. It was like, yeah, but there's also nothing in the language of the bill that says that requires Catholic hospitals to do this either. Right. You know what I mean? So she's already tap dancing, backpedaling. And then on top of that, she and Murkowski know that they have all the fucking leverage. And so they're going to, what's stopping them from demanding any old thing, getting added in there. So,
and they flip flop all the time. I mean, both of these women knew what they were getting into. They rolled the dice anyway. And as far as I'm concerned, they gambled on women's rights way before this. It really doesn't matter to me whether they were mistaken, whether they were misguided, whether or not these people lied to them. These people, again, my thing is pattern of behavior. You're going to always hear me say that. I don't care about isolated incidents here or there. Mm-hmm. I don't care if somebody said something one time or two times. I want to see a pattern of behavior. Do you have a habit or a pattern over an extended period of time of behaving in a certain way. And what we've seen from at least the last two Supreme Court justices is that there is a pattern of behavior which indicates which direction they were going to go in. And that direction clearly showed us that they would vote against Roe versus Wade if they could. And most conservatives who are against Roe versus Wade are against gay marriage. And those who are against gay marriage tend to also not be the biggest supporters of interracial marriage. So it's a slippery slope. And again, even though there might be laws that you support now, it's not about who the law is affecting now. It's about who the law could affect in the future. So you have to be careful how you tilt that scale, because it's about setting a precedent that once you do it at all, you can do it at all. And at some point, the variable of who's, affected by these laws just changes. So I'm very disappointed. I'm very curious to see what the dissent will be. And again, the argument from the Republicans is going to be that this was a leaked memo. This is not the final draft. We don't really know that that's how they're going to rule. They're going to give you that whole song and dance. But my prediction is they're leaning towards overturning Roe versus Wade. How they do it will be interesting, because what's the argument? I mean, the argument's going to be when the Constitution was written, it didn't include abortion, but at the same time, it didn't include women. So all the women sitting on the Supreme Court wouldn't even be in those positions if there wasn't some flexibility in the interpretation of the Constitution in the first place. It's just amazing when and where that flexibility is applied.
Also, if the founders wanted the Constitution to never change and never have the capability of flexibility, then they would not have built inside the Constitution the ability to change the Constitution. That's part of it.
Right.
You had the original 10 amendments that came when we did the Constitution. And then we've had 14 amendments since then. Mm-hmm. That was all fucking part of it. If this was a perfect document that was never supposed to change, then they wouldn't have built into the document, here's how you change this.
Here's how you change this.
Fuck
because
you.
For all their flaws, I do feel that the one clear characteristic of the genius of the founding fathers was their ability to know their own limitations. And I think their ability to know that is reflected in the fact that they allowed for amendments, knowing that this would have to change probably with the times.
Yeah. And they set it up to move slowly. That's the other thing that, I know there's a lot of apathy. I know a lot of people were convinced somehow that, with a one vote majority in the Senate, we'd be able to turn America into Finland overnight. But the way the Constitution is set up, like it takes 2/3 of states to ratify a constitutional amendment. It takes 60 votes to get away from a filibuster. You know what I mean? Like it's a tool. Minority rights was their thing. And when they talk about minority, they're talking about people that are voting in the minority, right?
Correct.
So their whole thing was like, it's going to take a lot of votes, a lot of fucking people to pass a law. But yeah, like we can vote to end the filibuster, because filibuster isn't in the Constitution. You know what I mean? It's just like it's a
tool. Right.
It's not, you know what I mean? The filibuster.
Right. It's not a law. It's a tool. Yeah.
Do we really think the Republicans are going to keep the filibuster whenever they get back into power at this point?
Well, the Democrats
are talking about getting rid of fucking contraception. Of course, they're going to get rid of the fucking filibuster.
See, I don't think they will. I don't think either side benefits from losing the filibuster, especially the Democrats, because the Democrats actually tend to use it more, which is why they're not the ones waving the magic flag on, oh my goodness, we need to get rid of it, because they know when the baton is in their hands, they use it too, if not more. So I'm starting to increasingly believe that there is more complicity between the Republicans and the Democrats than we realize. They're just marketing themselves differently, but basically coming out with the same results.
I do want to get all the Democratic senators right now on record on whether or not they support ending the filibuster, or ending the filibuster permanently, or ending the filibuster just for like individual carve-outs, because that's what they were going to do for the Women's Health Protection Act.
Yeah, but they're not even going to talk about it.
Just for this one thing.
They're not even going to talk about it because they're not in support of getting rid of it. That's why no one's talking about it.
I mean, that's why the bill failed, though. Like we would have been able to pass it with that one more vote, because there was going to be a filibuster carve-out for that one thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. Like they're not on the record, as saying we support getting rid of the filibuster overall.
Right. No, because they don't want to.
Yeah, dude.
It's not in their favor.
What do you think about the idea that everyone's going to go and do a bunch of we're going to do women's marching and all of that?
Oh, I'm sure these women are going to start marching. Whether or not I'll be there is a different story, but I'm sure the women will march. And part of the reason I don't know if I'll be there is because half the bitches marching at that thing probably voted for half these idiots that are pushing this through in the first place. So I'm not in the mood for the schizophrenia, to tell you the truth.
That's what I was wondering. Because I remember Trump got elected. We the Women's March on a rainy day out here in San Francisco. They had another one in Oakland.
Yep.
And every year since then, they've had like some version of the Women's March. And it was a great turnout. It was good. Everybody felt really nice and all that.
But how did it move the needle? It didn't, because we're worse off now. So apparently the marching's not working. So we're going to have to do something else. To be continued as this topic unfolds, because we are in the genesis of it. After all, this, in all fairness, this is just a leaked document. The immediate pressing issue I saw Ted Cruz talking about today was who leaked it. You know, he was beating his chest like an ape in the jungle about who leaked it. He suspects it's a law clerk, and they're going to, do everything that they can to discover the truth of who released the document. Like I said, I think both sides benefit from it. I don't even think it really matters who leaked it, although it is unprecedented for something like this to have happened in the first place. But hey, stranger things have happened. And at this point, you should plan on these things happening. There's going to be a whistleblower. There's going to be someone who leaks something. I mean, especially something that's a topic that's discharged on the heels of an election cycle. I mean, come on. Have we met Americans yet? Or we're dying for the next hot thing. So apparently this is it.